Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I would consider to be one of the most important levels to watch out for Ethereum as resistance into the end of this bear market, and ultimately what I am going to be expecting if we can actually break out above this level. So if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, by the way, I will leave a link to my Twitter page in the description below. Feel free to go ahead and check that out as well. I'm fairly active over there with crypto content. So we're going to be really focusing on these two weekly moving averages. The red line is the 20 simple moving average, and then the green line is the 21 exponential moving average. And I have them as more or less a band, which is something that we've been covering with Ethereum for the last several months, where we've seen this act as very strong resistance throughout this entire bear market. And it really just started when Ethereum lost this level as support right here in December of 2021. When we did lose it, we came all the way back down, formed a lower low, and then had a big sharp rally right back up into that level, ultimately flipping it into resistance. Yes, we had one weekly candle close above this, but that was a very sharp deviation where we came back under this, flipped it into resistance, and then continued that bear market trend forming lower lows. We also saw a retest of this level in August, right around $2,000, coming up once again into that level, rejecting off of it, coming back down, and then having another retest in September. And then we saw a similar move coming back down, last retest right here in October. And once again, we are seeing Ethereum come back up into these moving averages and have the fifth retest throughout this bear market. And consider the fact that this is going to be a very significant retest, mainly because each time we have more and more retests on each subsequent move, we do have a higher probability of eventually breaking out, because we're starting to see that selling exhaust. We're starting to see this area of resistance really start to have a diminishing response. And what I mean by that is when we had the first retest, we saw a very significant and sharp reaction to which Ethereum came back down by about 75%. And yes, a lot of this was led by breaking below other levels of support, but this was a very strong rejection, and Ethereum had a very intense reaction to that first retest. The second and third times around, yes, we did see that correction down about 38-40%, but ultimately it was much less significant than the previous retest. And then the move that we had in October was even less to an extent to the downside, about a 30% correction. So we're seeing that reaction diminish, and I do expect eventually we will have Ethereum break out above this level at some point in the future. And whether that's this retest or in a few more after that is anyone's guess. But what I can say is that when we do eventually get that breakout above that level, the 20 weekly moving average and the 21 weekly moving average, that will mark one of the first signs that we do have a longer term bottom in place, because breaking out above this would really signify that the momentum to the downside has concluded, because we would no longer have that downward sloping resistance. We would no longer have that area of supply coming up to meet us at lower highs every few weeks. And that would be a very bullish catalyst. And it's something that we experienced back in the previous market cycle. Again, very similar thing. It was support in the bull run. We saw it every step of the way, hold as support where buyers stepped in. And then eventually we got the breakdown, flipped it into resistance, and then had that bear market. And then we had multiple rejections. And when Ethereum was able to break out above that level and flip it into support, it actually had a pretty incredible rally from that point, up around 155% up to that local top. And the moment Ethereum had these weekly closes confirming this breakout above these weekly moving averages as resistance, that really did signify the end of this downtrend, the end of the momentum to the downside. Yes, we did eventually see a breakdown back below it, but ultimately this really just did serve as a longer term inflection point where Ethereum stopped and ended this downtrend with that bear market low, and we just eventually saw this sideways period of oscillation back and forth above and below the moving average, and no longer as resistance. So it basically went from strong resistance into this more neutral point of sideways action, and then eventually from there we saw the new bull run, the new support, where this started to have an upward slope as opposed to just going sideways. It became support, and then we're just repeating the process, right? We've seen that breakdown, the resistance, the resistance, the resistance, and we could be seeing a breakout back above this level, which is definitely something to pay attention to. Certainly we aren't guaranteed a breakout above this level just because it is the fifth rejection, but something to pay attention to, something to keep an eye on, given the significance of these weekly moving averages and given the possibility that we could see an eventual break back above these weekly moving averages. So I hope you guys did enjoy the content and the analysis. By the way, make sure to check out my Twitter page. I will leave a link to that in the description below. Again, fairly active over there if you want to go ahead and check that out. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.